I know that the original Silent Hill movie isn't correct if you're going off the lore of the games. However, it was my first introduction into the series after playing the demo disc way too young on PS1 and then not picking up the series again until I was about 16 when I played Silent Hill 2. I know that there are questionable decisions about things that happen in the first movie, like the fact that Pyramid Head exists without James Sunderland, and things like the fact that the director changed the character of Harry to Rose, as he didn't think that the audiences would believe that a father would go that far to save his child. No, you did hear me correctly on that one. It's like the director just had total disregard for the original source material. Like, you have Sean Bean cast in this movie. Like, did you not think the audience would believe that he would go that far for a child? The man would go that far for Yorkshire tea bags. Of course he would go that far to save his child. Now, I've avoided watching Revelations for a good 10 years now, and I rewatched the first movie at the start of the year, and I decided that it's probably about time to bite the bullet and say that I've actually watched Revelation. Because am I concerned about how they're going to handle this movie, considering that it's actually based on the plot of Silent Hill 3? Absolutely. If you know about Silent Hill 3, it focuses on Cheryl, aka Heather, and she's all grown up now from the first game, and it focuses in the very beginning on her relationship with her and her dad. If you know, you know. And what happens in Silent Hill 3 to her dad is the catalyst for the entire thing, and I don't know how you're going to do this because the relationship from the first movie isn't that going into the second movie. When her adopted father disappears on the eve of her 18th birthday and discovering that her presumed identity of Heather Mason is false, Sharon De Silva is drawn into a strange and terrifying alternate reality that holds answers to the terrifying nightmares that have plagued her since childhood, all existing in the strange town of Silent Hill where the Order of Valtiel has been seeking her out. I forgot till I wrote the description that they'd even changed Cheryl to Sharon. Like, does the director not like the name Cheryl now? As always here on my channel, I'm going to watch the movie off camera, so that way if you still want to watch Silent Hill Revelations and going off the reviews of this movie, that's a questionable decision, but I'm about to make this decision, then nothing will be spoilt for you, because nobody wants to watch a movie that you have just watched somebody else watch from start to finish. I'm gonna need a drink for this one.
Why is he here?
I'm going to keep talking about the Silent Hill 3 game throughout my review, because the Silent Hill movies are actually adaptations of the game series and not inspired by the game series, which is a massive difference. I have no shame in saying that I nearly DNF'd this movie because of how poor of an adaptation this really is. The saying goes, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And a lot of the things that they changed in this movie, they changed for the worse, considering that you were handed such a golden plot that is the Silent Hill 3 game, and you chose to make all of these changes that were absolutely unnecessary. There is a jump scare in the first 2 minutes, and if you know anything about me, you know that I hate movies that rely on jump scares, and this movie relies on jump scares for a lot of its scares. One of the first things that really annoyed me in this movie, and I'm going to bring it up because it happened in the first 2 minutes, is why do the monsters on the carousel have human faces? The whole point of the monsters in Silent Hill is they are supposed to be human-like, but not human, because you're supposed to be like, am I actually seeing what I think I'm seeing? And giving them human faces and making them human takes away everything that we know about these monsters and creatures that actually live in the realm of Silent Hill. Like, are we in Silent Hill? Are we in the real world? I hate that this then became a thing that they continued to use throughout. Like, are the things that dwell in Silent Hill, are they people? Because the cult have their own completely different look. Or are they supposed to be monsters? I was pleasantly surprised though to see the missionary turn up, considering they are one of the bosses in Silent Hill 3. I just wasn't expecting them to actually use the good-looking characters in the film. I hate the reason why Rose is still stuck in Silent Hill. The entire scene with the mirror just confirms my thought that you did not need to change Harry for Rose in the first movie. It was a completely redundant choice and did not need to have happened in the first place. The whole section in the school in this at the beginning. Was there a reason for that, apart from to make Heather/Sharon look like an incredibly big bitch? Because that's the only thing that I got from her character at that point. Like, you're incredibly unlikable, You don't want anybody to like you, so why should I care what happens to you? Douglas, the detective, he has a completely different exit in the movie compared to the game, and Vincent, he has a completely different character arc in this as well, and he is about as interesting as wet cardboard. Like, what's his character? The writing in this movie is so poor that all of the characters are just surface level, and Vincent is there to simply be a throwaway character, which he isn't in the game. So let's talk about Heather / Sharon / Cheryl, depending on, which one you want to call her, who is the most incredibly weak and pathetic protagonist that I think I've seen in a horror movie in a very, very long time. I always say it is never a good sign if I don't care if your lead character lives or dies, and that is exactly how I felt about Sharon / Heather / Cheryl / insert whatever you want. The thing that I was nervous about, that is the catalyst for everything in this movie, it was as poor as I was expecting it to be, and what happens did not push Sharon / Heather to do the same thing that Cheryl / Heather does. Minor spoiler warnings here, the notice will disappear when I finish talking about spoilers. In the game, Harry, Cheryl / Sharon / Heather's dad, is murdered on the orders of Claudia Wolf, who is the leader of the cult in Silent Hill. This is what actually fuels Heather / Sharon / Cheryl to go to Silent Hill. She goes with this overwhelming sense of grief and revenge. Like, that's what she goes for. She goes to kill Claudia Wolf. Now, what actually happens in the movie is her dad is simply abducted. Like, there's no drive for why Sharon / Cheryl / Heather wants to go to Silent Hill. Like, the urgency and that need for revenge isn't there. Why the actual fuck is Pyramid Head in this movie? Because the last time I checked, Pyramid Head is still related to James Sunderland and is the representation of James's grief and suffering. So to give him this weird redemption arc, and he has this Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome fight with the missionary at one point, why are we trying to redeem Pyramid Head? He's not supposed to be redeemable. He's the executioner. If you've played the games, Pyramid Head isn't in Silent Hill 3. Silent Hill 3 has its own bosses. There's 5 of them in total, and they included the missionary in this, along with one of the other bosses, which I will not say which one because that is a spoiler. So they didn't need to include him in this movie. It was an unnecessary addition that makes absolutely no sense if you know anything about the lore. The practical effects in this movie are not as good as the first one, and I'm gonna call them out for this. They did Carrie-Anne Moss dirty in this movie when they covered her eyebrows and glued them down. You did that to her, and then you chose not to actually take the character of Claudia Wolf and take her anywhere near her potential. She was kind of wasted everything else in this movie. The creature suit / prosthetics in this movie are fine when they're actually included, but most of the monsters in this are done with really bad CGI, and I mean bad CGI. And I think that's partly to do with the fact that this movie was made to be in 3D, so there's a lot of things in this that without the 3D effect just don't look good. And on DVD, you don't get 3D glasses, so it's not meant to be viewed as a 3D experience outside of the original cinema experience. There is a reason why the Silent Hill franchise, particularly the games, are so beloved and why they have garnered so much critical acclaim, particularly the first 3 games. Silent Hill, it's more than a place. It is a feeling, it's an atmosphere, it is highly flawed characters that carry the burden of their decisions around with them in this place that continues to torment them with these burdens. And this movie has none of these things. If this movie didn't have Silent Hill in the title, you wouldn't know that it was meant to be in the Silent Hill franchise, because there is nothing about it that gives off that true Silent Hill feel. It's missing. It's missing in every single way. I knew going into this movie that it was going to be bad and that I was going to hate it, but I still decided that I was going to watch it anyway. But I'm giving this movie half a star because at the end of the day, it is an insult to the legacy that is the Silent Hill franchise. Like, there is no redemption to this movie. It is just a bad movie that chose not to take its original source material, which is golden, and make the most of it. It is the movie equivalent of holding a shit and being asked to clap. Like, that's how bad it is. Now, I know that there is a Silent Hill 2 movie in the works, and I am now even more nervous about it than I was when I found out that they were making a Silent Hill 2 movie, because James Sunderland's story is the story that made me fall in love with the franchise. And the only thing that I can think of that might redeem the Silent Hill 2 movie that's coming out is the fact that it is the original director that is coming back to do the second movie, who made the first movie. You know it's bad when the original director didn't want to come back to this project after going to prison for a year because it didn't feel authentic to the original piece of cinema that they created. So there you have it, my thoughts and my opinions on Silent Hill Revelations from 2012. If you have seen this movie, I would love to know what your thoughts and opinions are down in the comment section down below. You can also find me over on Instagram, where I post every single horror movie that I watch, not just the ones that I review here on YouTube. And I will be back on Monday with another solo review. This time, it has to be better than this. It has to be. Anything is a step up from this movie. So until next time, bye.